Welcome to another edition of Talking About Practice. My name's Luke Touhill, and today we're in Brisbane visiting two services that have an outstanding reputation for environmental sustainability. Later in the program we'll also be visiting a service in Sydney that has a similar reputation. Sustainability is a big part of the EYLF and the NQS, and more than ever before, services are being asked to incorporate sustainable practices into their day-to-day operation and into their work with children. In this program, we want to investigate what that really means. What does it look like and how do you do it?
My name's Melinda Robertson. I am co-director at Mount Gravatt Kindergarten in Brisbane. I've been here for about 5 years and I've probably worked in the early childhood sector for close to 30 years. The kindergarten's about 55 years old, and there was a previous teacher here, Mary Luddy, that was here for nearly 40 of those years. And she had this vision of making a playground that was exciting and challenging, yet very calm and lots of hidey holes for the children, and that was really interesting, very different to a lot of other playgrounds. And over the years she did that, and I think she achieved that.
Definitely
Yeah, she has. So, you know, it was her, you know, she had the idea for the slide, and I think she probably planted every single tree that was here. So we've got 3 water tanks now. There's the 2 big ones up there, and we've just, over the last couple of weeks, there's a 3rd one installed behind the shed,
right,
which will collect a lot of rainfall.
Yep.
Now,
and what do you use that water for?
At the moment it's for the irrigation system.
Yep.
We did think about using it for the toilets. However, we then had to work out which was more important, toilet flushing water or maintaining our playground.
Yes.
And because we've had a couple of droughts, and a lot of Queenslanders now officially drought declared, we decided that this was very important to us, and that was the main thing to do. Okay. We do have solar panels up there. Yep. And we do have little or no power bills.
Fantastic.
And very careful with turning lights off and turning power points off that are not being used. And you notice with the water trough that was filled up with rainwater this morning, at the end of outside time, the children always empty that on the plants.
Yes, I saw them watering everything.
Or they fill up the bird baths. Yes, they fill up the bird baths, or they put water out for the lizards.
So there must be quite a bit of wildlife out here.
Yeah, there is actually. We do have a resident python somewhere.
Oh, wow.
That actually goes next door, so that's all right. It doesn't come out when the children are here. We do have a lot of lizards, water dragons and blue-tongue lizards, and that major skink that will probably come out today up on the veranda. If you look up in the trees, there's 6 nesting boxes for possums, gliders and parrots, so we do get a lot of bird life here.
Fantastic.
We have heard koalas up there. We haven't seen them in the playground, but they can get through because the trees are close enough. So yes, we've heard them. We've heard them at night, especially the male koalas, because they're very distinctive.
There's obviously a lot of recycled materials as well in the playground.
Yeah, in the actual construction of it. Like if you look at this is a very popular area for the children to use. Slide. So we've just got the tyres, and it's actually an old conveyor belt set into the hillside. So they slide down there. It's a bit hot, gets a little bit hot in the afternoon, but we're not usually out here. And they slide down on pieces of like synthetic material. Yep. And in summertime we sometimes put the hose out.
Looking around, there's really none of the obvious playground equipment that you see so often.
We do have some in the shed, but we tend not to bring it out regularly, and we prefer not to use a lot of metal and plastic equipment. I find that we try and use as many natural resources as well, and the children use a lot of recycled or natural resources around the playground in their play, a lot of loose parts. So we do have climbing frames and things, but I find they get a lot of climbing experience going up the tree ladders, up the vines. In fact, anywhere up there they get a lot.
So outside, it's a beautiful natural environment. Do you think that makes a difference to children's behaviour?
Definitely, definitely. When I first started here, I was working at another kindergarten as well part-time, so I was doing 2 centres in the 1 week, and it was really interesting. Every week I would be reminded of how different their play was, and the other centre had a nice playground as well, but it was more traditional. I found the children's play was much calmer here, it was much quieter. I don't mind noise, as long as it's constructive noise. It was calmer, it was quieter, it was more imaginative, And I think they also just had the room. They had the room to move.
I noticed lots of bare feet, both
Yes.
staff and children.
Yes, I have bare feet. When it's warm, I keep my shoes on in winter. We encourage the children to take their shoes off because I think it's important for safety, for climbing, to be able to feel what they're hanging onto with their feet, with their toes. And I think it's very important because it's a sensory thing as well. And I would hate it to be the situation where they never got to feel any natural substances underneath their feet. So that would be a very sad day. Okay, so this is our clumping bamboo.
Wow.
It's not the spreading bamboo, so that's okay. And
what a beautiful
the
little
children
space.
have just gradually hollowed out a little space in here, so they often use that as their little house.
It's amazing.
And
It's
it's
so
very
cool, actually.
Yeah, it is. It's very cool in there. But you'll find, there'll be carpet squares and blankets and tea sets and all sorts of things in there. So this is a wonderful little area.
So what does sustainability mean to you?
There's quite a few definitions of sustainability, but the one that I like to use is being able to meet our current needs without infringing on the needs of future generations to be able to fulfill their needs. So sustainability, as well as the environmental things, is also to do with equity and fairness and social justice things as well, more on a global, but also on an
so
individual
looking at it from quite a
basis.
broad perspective of what is sustainable,
Yes.
rather than necessarily just being about environmentalism.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're obviously, I don't want to say the word lucky, but you've had the benefit of someone with a lot of foresight planning this yard over a long period of time.
I call myself lucky.
Well, I mean, what do you say to someone who doesn't have the benefit of that? Someone who has the artificial grass, artificial shade sail, nothing natural in the yard, and wants to start thinking about being sustainable. Where would you start?
I would, if I was a centre looking at that, what I would first do is do an audit. New South Wales ECN, they have the EcoSmart audit. And if you're a member, that's free. I would highly recommend that. That's wonderful. I do have one here somewhere. And that allows you to look at all your practices, make a baseline of where you were, and then to start. I would look at trying to green up a centre. If you had a total area that was just totally the plastic grass, I would look at bringing in pot plants. Even large ones that you can still shift around. You can make little hidey holes of little rooms virtually to encourage natural play. I don't think we give children enough hidey holes. So you can still safely supervise, but at least they have got somewhere that they can withdraw to or have their own little area. But you would be looking at your energy usage or wastage of it. You'd be looking at the staff. You would be looking at your cleaning products. You would be looking at what your resources were made out of. With the staff, you really need to have everybody on board.
Well, I was going to ask you that.
Yes.
I mean, do you think you have to? Is that a sort of prerequisite? Everyone has to be committed to it? Or do you think that develops
you would
as
hope
you go?
so. You would hope so. There will always be people who are more committed than other people. I would say here everybody is on the same page. We did have to make sure that our cleaners knew what was going on, particularly in recycling, and emptying the rubbish bins at the end of the day and just chucking everything into the red bin or black bin, whichever state you're in.
Tell me a bit about some of the decisions you've made at the Kimby here, where you've brought a sustainability focus to it.
Well, when I came in here, a lot of things were already set up in place. We have now, as I said, we've got the other water tank going now, so we are irrigating with rainwater when it rains, when we finally get rain. We use a lot of resources that have been donated. I mean, we occasionally buy resources in paper and cardboard, but it would only be for things that we need that we haven't been able to get for free somewhere else that have been donated. We do have some very old equipment and resources here. You've seen the phones and the block accessories and things like that. So we've kept all those and we've kept them in really good condition. And we have bought some new resources. We always try to buy timber things. If we can't buy them in timber, we would buy them in plastic. If we felt that they were not able to be purchased in any other way, we would. With the plastic things, we made a conscious decision that we weren't going to get rid of plastic. If it was here already and was useful, we would keep things here. We're not into wasting resources that we buy, whether they're timber or whether they're a natural product or whether they're plastic. So you still will see plastic things around. So we're not wasting resources, whatever it is, that way. Which I think is an important point, because some centres think that they have to get rid of all their plastic things.
Yes.
You know, and do you get rid of your Lego because it's made out of plastic? Of course not.
It seems like it's lots of those little things throughout the day that make up that whole focus on sustainability. There's not one major thing.
I think there's a lot of things embedded in the program here. Like you saw the children arriving this morning, they all go and wash, as we said, they wash their hands, they dry it there. They know not to leave the tap running. They don't waste water, and they understand why. You've seen their lunch boxes at morning tea and lunchtime. They're very healthy. They recycle their scraps into the worm farm, the ones that can be recycled. We ask the parents not to bring plastic Glad Wrap pre-packaged snacks, and most of the time that's successful. I won't say all the time, but most of the time it is. And their drinks, they don't bring poppers or anything like that. They bring their own water bottles, which we top up throughout the day.
So you've recently made a decision, for instance, to bring back hand towels rather than paper towels?
Yes, we have, because I was always very unhappy with the amount of paper towel wastage. We did some calculations, we worked out with the children how many they were using for the day, somewhere between, and then we add up for the year, we talked to the committee about it, it's between 14 and 20,000 a year.
Wow.
And that's not including fundraising functions or social events. So we thought, apart from just the environmental waste of paper and all the production costs involved in it, it just seemed ludicrous to be spending hundreds of dollars on a resource that you just throw out. So we wanted to go back to hand towels again.
Now we're sitting here on what's a really hot day in Brisbane. I think it's 36 degrees.
It's 36 degrees
elsewhere,
out there.
But it's still amazingly cool here.
It is. We're very lucky. As you can see, there's a lot of trees around the playground. So we have enough, we generate enough solar power up there, but we also have enough shade to keep the kindergarten cool. We have new louvers there to direct the airflow inside, so we don't have air conditioning inside. It's about 5 degrees cooler. When you walk out in the street later, you'll go, oh my goodness, I can't believe how hot it is. I will say that it's actually very cold in winter, but we say to the children, if you're cold, you need to put a jumper on. And we put a jumper on, and you need to bring a blanket at rest time. So it's a no-brainer.
So, I mean, but for those services who are used to air conditioning and the switch is just there and it's very easy to turn on.
Well, in some cases, some centres are really, really hot. And I think for the children's health, in some cases, you do need it. You do need it. So I would just hope there's other things that they're doing in place, other sustainable measures that would offset it, or having solar panels to offset it. I did work in a very hot kindergarten before, and I can understand. I can be there. I can appreciate that.
I think for some people, there's a sense that a worm farm and a vegetable garden is sustainability.
Yes, it is. It's a good start. It's a really good start. I think probably the most important things are people using them as just to pass the sustainability element of NQS, or are they actually really engaging with it? So it probably, some people might say that's a token thing, and if they're just putting it in for that point, yes, it is a token thing. But if they're really involving the children with it, the children know why you're doing it, the children are actually using it, then I would say even if that's the only start you make to begin with, then I wouldn't call that a token. I would say that's the start of engaging with things. So I think that's really good. I think with sustainability, as with many other things, if your children are involved, your children know why you're doing it, and you can see everybody else is getting involved in it, staff and children, I think that's a sign that it's successful. And I would put that with a lot of activities.
Tell us about the rubbish dump experiment.
Well, this came up in discussions about what was recyclable and what wasn't, and why we shouldn't, why we should be putting plastic out to be recycled. So we used this garden bed, and we buried a variety of objects with the children last term. So what sort of things did we bury?
Glass lid.
Yes? Yeah, was it the glass lid or was it the glass bottle?
Glass bottle. Leaves.
Leaves, yep. Bark, yep.
Bark.
They dug it up this morning.
Yes.
Some objects we've found, one, I suspect the rest have rotted away or decomposed.
So there's a range of things they put in
The
there.
range of things in there. I think it's made out of?
It's glass.
It's a glass bottle. Now let's have a look. It's pretty dirty, but do you think it's changed?
Yes.
Has it? How do you think it might have changed?
Because a sticker, they kind of come off.
I feel obviously very happy that my child's coming here, because I feel that instead of being locked in a box, he's actually being able to explore the nature that's around him and be in touch with it. And I think that to be in touch with nature means that they're going to be, I guess, more likely to have green behaviours later on in life. Just the other day he came home talking about how they had an activity where they had 3 different bins, different coloured lids, and they were putting different pictures of different rubbish into the appropriate coloured bins. The children, as they learn in an environment like this, will take that learning home to the parents and the family, and therefore establish new routines in their own families.